cafe smelled like freshly brewed coffee and rain. Outside, the world shimmered under a golden sunset that glowed through the glass walls, painting warm light across the wooden tables. Inside, at a corner booth, sat Ethan Blake, his hands nervously folded over the menu he hadn't read for the past 10 minutes. His dark hair was neatly combed, but his eyes carried the tired shadows of a man who'd fought too many quiet battles. A single father of 2, he hadn't been on a date in 6 years, not since his wife, Clara, had passed away in a car accident that changed everything. Today, his best friend Liam had convinced him to just try. "Come on, man," Liam had said that morning while Ethan dropped his kids, Lily and Max, at school. "You've been living like a monk. You need to move on. You deserve happiness too." Ethan had sighed, his heart torn between guilt and loneliness. "Liam, my happiness is my kids. I don't have time for this dadding thing." Liam smirked, nudging him. "Then make time. This woman is different. She's kind, patient, and trust me, you'll like her. Her name's Grace." So now, here he was, heart thudding, fingers tapping the table, waiting for a stranger who might change something he thought was unchangeable. The sound of heels clicked softly against the wooden floor, and when Ethan looked up, his breath caught for a moment. Grace was elegant, not in a glamorous movie star way, but in a gentle, sincere one. She wore a light blue dress that matched the calm in her eyes. Her smile was polite, almost shy. "Ethan?" she asked. He stood quickly, nearly knocking his glass over. Yeah, that's me. You must be Grace." They shook hands awkwardly, both smiling in that nervous, first meeting way that hides vulnerability behind small talk. Grace sat down, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Liam said you're a teacher," she asked. Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I teach middle school science. Kids keep me young, I guess." He chuckled softly, then added, "And you're in nursing." "Yes, I work at the community hospital. Mostly night shifts. Not the most glamorous life, but I love it." There was something soothing in her voice, like a melody that carried both weariness and warmth. Their conversation started slow, but soon began to flow naturally. They laughed about silly things, shared stories about childhood dreams, and found comfort in their shared experiences of exhaustion and resilience. But beneath Ethan's smile was a quiet hesitation. Every time Grace spoke, a small voice whispered inside him, "You shouldn't be here. Clara wouldn't want this." Yet another voice, quieter but more hopeful, replied, "Maybe she would." As the date continued, Grace noticed Ethan's occasional silence, the way he sometimes looked away as if lost in a memory. She didn't push. Instead, she leaned into the quiet moments, letting them breathe. "You have kids, right?" she asked softly. Ethan nodded. "Yeah, Lily's 8, Max is 6. They're my world. Honestly, I wasn't sure about coming tonight because, well, being a single dad, it's complicated." "I understand," Grace said, smiling gently. "You know, I work with kids all the time. They're the purest souls. They remind us how to hope. Something in her words struck Ethan deeply. He looked at her for a moment longer, realizing she wasn't just kind, she was someone who understood pain and perseverance. The rain outside began again, tapping lightly against the glass. Then, just as he began to relax, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his babysitter. "Hey, sorry, I might have to leave early. Emergency at home. The kids are watching a movie now, but I'll try to wait until you're back." Ethan's chest tightened. He didn't want to cut the evening short, but he couldn't leave Lily and Max alone. "Grace, I'm so sorry. I might have to go soon. Something came up with the babysitter." Grace's face softened. "It's okay. Family comes first. Maybe we can do this again." Her kindness made it harder to leave. "Yeah, I'd really like that," he said sincerely. As they stood to leave, neither realized that fate had another plan. One that would twist their ordinary night into something unforgettable. Outside the cafe, Ethan opened his umbrella and offered to walk her to her car. The air smelled like rain and coffee and something new possibility. Grace hesitated before getting in, her eyes meeting his. "You seem like a good man, Ethan." He smiled faintly, "Trying my best." She smiled back. "That's all anyone can do." They said goodbye, and Ethan drove home, thinking about her. There was something familiar about her, though he couldn't place it. Maybe it was her voice, or the way she looked at him with empathy that felt deeply personal. When he got home, he found his babysitter hurriedly grabbing her things. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. My mom fainted. I have to go." "It's okay, go," Ethan said quickly. The kids were half asleep on the couch, the TV flickering softly. He carried Max to his room and tucked him in, then kissed Lily's forehead. "Good night, princess." "Daddy," she mumbled sleepily. "Did you have fun?" Ethan smiled. "Yeah, I did." Later that night, he sat by the window, the rain dripping steadily outside. He thought about Grace, her eyes, her calm, the way she'd said family comes first, like she truly understood it. Something told him she carried her own scars too. The next morning came with sunshine and cereal chaos. Lily was giggling, while Max tried to build a tower out of pancakes. Ethan's laughter filled the kitchen for the first time in a long while. Just then, his phone buzzed. It was a text from Grace. "I hope everything's okay with your kids. Maybe we could grab coffee again sometime." Ethan felt his heart lift. "I'd like that," he typed back. The following week passed in a blur of school lessons, bedtime stories, and quiet thoughts about her. On Saturday, he finally asked her out again. They met at the park. Lily and Max came along this time. Grace arrived with a picnic basket, wearing a light summer dress and that same warm smile. "Wow, you brought food?" Ethan asked. Grace laughed. "Of course. You can tell a lot about a person by what they eat." Lily and Max immediately took to her. She listened to their stories, laughed at their jokes, helped Max tie his shoelace when it came undone. Ethan watched, his heart stirring in ways he hadn't felt in years. As the day went on, they talked about life, about loss, about second chances. Grace shared that she had once been engaged, but her fiancé had passed away from an illness 2 years ago. "I thought I'd never open my heart again," she admitted softly. "But maybe healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning to smile through the pain." Ethan felt his eyes sting. He looked at her, realizing she wasn't just a date. She was a mirror to his soul, a reminder that broken hearts can still beat beautifully. As the sun began to set, Grace said she needed to make a quick stop before heading home. "Can I meet you for dinner next Friday?" she asked. "I'd love that," Ethan said, but destiny had one more surprise waiting. The next Friday night, they met again at the same cafe. Everything felt easy now, comfortable. They were laughing over dessert when the door burst open. 2 little kids, Lily and Max, ran in, breathless and wide-eyed. Ethan stood up instantly. "Lily, Max, what are you doing here?" The entire cafe turned to look as the kids ran toward the table. Lily pointed at Grace, tears in her eyes, and shouted, "Wait. She's the nurse who saved Mommy." The cafe went silent. Grace froze, her eyes widening as she stared at the 2 children who remembered her from that tragic night years ago, the night Clara died. Ethan's heart stopped. The rain outside began to pour again, just like that night long ago. Grace's lips trembled as she whispered, "You're Clara's husband." The air filled with 1,000 unspoken emotions, shock, grief, fate colliding in an impossible twist. Ethan could barely breathe. His date, the woman he'd started to fall for, was the very nurse who had been there the night his wife took her last breath. And in that moment, everything changed.